Welcome, everyone, and thank you for joining us for the Vespa Q1 product update. My name is Bonnie, and I lead product marketing at Vespa. And I'm also joined today by Thomas and Radu, two of our senior engineers at Vespa. Now, today we're going to walk through some of the most exciting improvements we've shipped on the Vespa platform this quarter across performance, ranking, developer experience, and more. We've had a productive quarter and have a lot to share. And some of these updates are things many of you have asked for directly. This session is being recorded, and you will get a copy of the recording and the slides within 48 hours after the webinar ends. This is also a chance for us to hear from you. Your questions and feedback shape what we build next. So we'll keep the talk focused and leave time for Q&A at the end. You'll see a Q&A option on the toolbar on the right-hand side of your screen. Drop your questions here, and we'll address them at the end of the session. You'll also see a resources option in that toolbar where we dropped a few helpful links and assets. Now with that, let's go ahead and get started. Now, one of the most common pieces of feedback we hear is, I want to get started faster. So this quarter, we significantly improved the onboarding experience inside the Vespa console. You can now feed data and run queries directly in the browser without ever leaving the console. No local setup required. The Getting Started walkthrough is now much more intuitive. It guides you step by step from deploying an application all the way to running your first queries. And for developers who prefer working programmatically, the walkthrough includes code examples for PyVespa, the Vespa CLI, and plain curl, so you can switch to your preferred workflow immediately. So it acts as both a learning environment and a bridge to production workflows. Now, for teams that want to deploy Vespa through their existing cloud provider, we have some great news on marketplace availability. So we've made Vespa Cloud easier to access through various cloud marketplaces. Vespa Cloud is now available through the Google Cloud Marketplace, which means organizations can deploy Vespa directly through their existing GCP billing and procurement workflows. This simplifies purchasing and adoption for many use cases. We've also added support for Azure Enclave environments, which expands the deployment options for companies that require secure or isolated compute environments. Now, let's shift some focus to some core engineering improvements with Thomas.
Yeah. So as we were working with our customers to benchmark Vespa and the performance of Vespa, we noticed that one of the bottlenecks during this benchmarking was actually the writing to and parsing of JSON. So this led us to add another rendering format to the Vespa result format, and that is CBOR. CBOR is an acronym for Concise Binary Object Representation, and it's a drop-in replacement for CBOR. You can deserialize a CBOR response, and the data structure will be identical to what you'd get from JSON. So the difference is purely in the wire encoding. So this means that it is more compact to transfer through the network, and it's a lot faster to generate. This has a specific impact on tensors and embeddings with a lot of floating point numbers that JSON would need to write and read. Yeah. So especially this will give a lot better performance for numeric heavy responses, and it is enabled via either setting format equals CBOR in the Vespa query parameter, or the HTTP header accept application CBOR. So the latter, the HTTP header, is now added by default in PyVespa and Vespa CLI. This is now available since Vespa 8.623.5.
Great. Now, Thomas, is there a plan to add CBOR to help with feeding high-dimensional vectors?
Yeah. So as you noticed, this is now supported as the result format, But as you ask, it is naturally to ask whether you can also feed Seaboard to Vespa. And this is planned, and will likely be a part of Vespa soon. I can't promise any due date yet, but yeah, it's definitely on the roadmap in the near future.
Great.
Yeah, we recently released PyVespa version 1.0, first major version release. This was twofold. The reason for doing this, the first is that we want to signal that PyVespa is fit for production use, and that we consider the API stable, and we don't want to introduce breaking changes to the PyVespa API. PyVespa has evolved into a fully supported client SDK, which many of our clients have relied upon in a production setting for quite a while now. So yeah, we considered that it was now time. We also switched the underlying HTTP client library used by PyVespa recently. This was also done due to the fact that we often saw end-to-end performance while doing benchmarking and so on was often bottlenecked by PyVespa. And the underlying HTTP client library was a limitation in several areas of this. So the new HTTP client library we switched to gives us a lot better performance across the board for both feed and query operations, especially if you want to transfer a lot of data. So in some of our tests, we actually saw that it was 4.9 times faster for the example case where you return 400 hits with a 768 dimensional vector. And this was also, of course, in combination with Seaboard. So that has also a great effect in combination. So another thing that we recently added to the PyVespa library was an integration with the MTEB library. MTEB is an acronym for Massive Text Embedding Benchmark. And many of you are probably familiar with the MTEB leaderboard on Hugging Face, which is very commonly used, or the go-to place to see the quality performance of different embedding models. And we wanted to use this same library to use to run the same benchmark tasks, but we wanted to run them on a Vespa application with different rank profiles rather than only do it for an embedding model. So with this integration, we can compare different embedding models, different vector precisions, different hybrid ranking strategies. And we got a lot of valuable insights and different trade-offs by doing this. And these were summarized in one of our recent blog posts. So check out blog.vespa.ai for more details on this.
Yeah, there's some impressive outcomes from that. And we did drop a link to that blog in the resources tab. So be sure to check that out. Now, Thomas, with this, does that mean that you can benchmark your tuned model or even like your own data to see how things kind of changed from where you started?
So that was a question with two parts, and let me address the first one first. You definitely can run benchmarks on your own tuned models with this. But this integration is primarily to make use of the large set of available benchmarks which the MTEB library exposes. So if we jump to the second part of the question, if you want to run these or run on your own data, that is something that we support not through this integration, but with the Vespa Evaluator class, which was made exactly for this purpose. So check that one out.
Awesome. Now I'll pass it over to Radu to talk about linguistics.
All right. So linguistics is the part of Vespa that deals with processing text into tokens in the context of lexical search. And there's been quite a lot of improvements here. Most importantly, we now have support for what we call linguistics profiles. So previously, linguistics definition was tied to a language, but now you can tie this to a language within a field. So in, for example, on the right side of this slide, you will see a definition of a Lucene linguistics profile, which has a profile name and a language. Either of them, can be omitted. And then in the field definition, you can say, I want to use this profile. We also have a new operator, which is called text. So you can say title contains text, and then you can put in the text that has been searched. And this is to tell Vespa to only process this text using the linguistics profile and not anything else, any of the normalization that Vespa does normally. And another improvement is that you can have in the same query, you can specify multiple clauses, each in its own language. So this all means that you have much more flexibility in terms of how we process, how Vespa processes the text into tokens and builds queries and stuff like that. It also means, in combination with Lucene linguistics, that it's much easier now to migrate from Lucene search engines such as Elasticsearch or Solr or OpenSearch to Vespa.
Great. I know this is something that some of our customers have been asking for, so it's good to see it come out.
Yep.
Okay, Thomas, let's talk about the Voyage AI integration.
Yeah, this I am excited about. We recently added Voyage AI integration. It actually started as a contribution from one of the Voyage AI folks. So thanks for that. The Voyage AI, they are an embedding provider, and they last year they announced their Voyage 4 model series, which was very good embedding models, very good benchmark results, which so the Voyage 4 model are a family of models in different sizes. But the cool thing is that all these models share embedding space. So you can, so the different embeddings from both their large models down to their smaller models are compatible. So you can mix and match. So unlike our standard Hugging Face embedder, which runs as an ONNX model locally on the Vespa container nodes, this Voyage AI integration is an API-based integration. So that means no local model files, no GPU or anything needed. You can just configure it as a component in your services XML, and then put in your API key in your Vespa Cloud secret store. And then you can get your embeddings generated based on this. So there are a few key capabilities. You can have automatic input type detection, so it knows whether it's an embedding a query or a document based on the context. They also have a cool model that supports contextualized chunk embeddings, which basically means that you can embed multiple chunks in a document and have them use the context of all the other chunks. They also, this integration supports quantization of the embedding outputs. So you can have them to float or indate or even binary if you want. So what makes me particularly excited about this integration is this shared embedding space across their model sizes. This enables a very useful pattern, which is to use a bigger, more powerful model, like, for instance, their Voyage for Large, for document indexing. So generating embeddings for documents is done only once. So if you do that, you can use a smaller model like Voyage for Nano for queries. And this model is actually open source. It's on Hugging Face. And it has really low latency, fast inference, and it generates embeddings into the same space. So you can use these for queries. So if you have query loads that are either high or many queries per second, or if you need low latency for your queries, then this is a perfect match. So this pattern is something we hope and expect to see more from embedding providers going forward. Yeah, we can also mention that we recommend to use separate container clusters and API keys for feed versus search in order to isolate the rate limits. Yeah, preventing bursty document feeding from impacting your search latency. That's it for that one. And we can move on to the introduction of switch operator in ranking expressions. So we got some feedback from customers that they gave us some examples of their quite complicated ranking expressions, which had a lot of nested if statements. And these could be significantly simplified by supporting the switch operator instead. So this is now added to Vespa, and it produces a lot simpler and more elegant ranking expression code. So this is particularly useful for per category ranking. As you can see in the example, if you have an attribute named category, you want to have different ranking expressions if the category is restaurant versus if it's a hotel. But you also, it's important to note that you need a default clause here. And also the switch operator only supports equality comparisons, so no range or inequality or multi-expression. Then if you want that, continue using if for now. Yep. Let's move on.
Great. Sounds like this will simplify things quite a bit. Next, let's talk about Vespa Learn and Playground. Radu.
Yeah, so we have this new GitHub organization called Vespa Playground. We encourage you guys to check it out. This is where we put projects that we find exciting, but they're not quite at the level of maturity where we feel comfortable supporting them. And the number of projects there is increasing very fast. I just want to mention some of them for now. One is called NIRAG, which is an end-to-end RAG solution built on top of Vespa. So you can make it scrape web pages, or you can put documents in there, and then you have your chatbot that works on top of that data. There's Vespa Embed, which you can use to tune embedder models on top of your data. So if you have, for example, relevance judgments, queries to document pairs, to high-rated document pairs for those queries, then you can use this tool, which has a nice UI. It'll just tune your model, and you can get really, really good results. I've tried this myself. I'll publish some results soon. I got a 0.15 improvement in NECG, which is huge. Then there's Vespa Tune, where you can again use your relevance judgments, but this time to create a re-ranker model. So like a light GBM model or something like that. And there's also a self-paced workshop that you can take to learn about Vespa. And on this idea of learning on your own, we have a new site coming up. It's not yet there, but it will be soon. It's called Vespa Learn, which is, again, a way for people to get started with Vespa and go deep later on. And last but not least, we are very excited to announce our very first Vespa conference. A lot of details are still to be revealed, including the conference name. But we know it's going to be at the beginning of September, so the week of September 7th. And it will be in the style that you know and love from Vespa. It will be friendly, straightforward, informative, affordable pricing, and we're looking forward to seeing you there.
Yeah, it's exciting. So yeah, stay tuned. We'll continue to send out more details as things solidify a bit more, but save the date for sure. So that's everything we wanted to share for this quarter's update. Hopefully, this gives you a sense of how Vespa continues to evolve to support your AI applications. Now, of course, I hope you've had the chance to drop in a question. If not, there's still some time. We do love hearing your questions. So yeah, let's go ahead and get started with the first question. All right. So we do have a couple of questions in here. I'll go ahead and start with this first question. So other than readability and simplicity, how is a switch expression different from nested if expressions?
Yeah, I can say that one. So it isn't. So it's just syntactic sugar. So yeah, it's just makes things a bit easier and readable for, especially for long, complicated nested if expressions. So that's it for that one.
Okay, great. Do these updates require upgrading Vespa?
So there were multiple updates here, and common for all of them were that they were released this quarter. So you need a fairly recent Vespa version for most of these features. Yeah, I think we had some specific versions on each slide. Yeah.
And if you're on Vespa Cloud, you should be getting these features automatically. Is that right?
Exactly. Then you'll be updated to the latest Vespa version continuously. So that's a big benefit of that.
Okay, awesome. We do have a question about linguistics. So probably, Radu, what's the advantage of having different linguistic processing for queries and documents?
Yeah, so there are some situations where that's a good idea. For example, synonym expansion. Right? Like, let's say you're searching for dog and you also want to match puppy, you can make this expansion on the query side, for example, and then documents could contain either dog or puppy. You don't need to expand that there as well.
Great. Has the location of the conference been decided?
99% it's going to be in London.
Awesome. Okay. Here's another one that is conference related. So can you share a little bit more about the purpose of organizing a Vespa conference?
Yeah, so we wanted to bring the community together. We wanted to facilitate learning and just exchanging ideas, new techniques, or even old cool things that people do with Vespa and in general with search.
Okay. We have another one here. Do you have an update on this integration?
Yeah, so the Triton integration, that's yeah, it's an inference engine that makes it easier to run both LLMs, but also other types of big models in combination with Vespa, and it's been something that we've been working for quite a few months, but it's also a very complex feature. So, but yeah, I can say that it's getting really close. Yeah, it's a matter of weeks, I guess, until it's released.
Okay, and we do have a couple of questions in the chat actually. So one of the questions is, when should we expect the Vespa 9 to be released?
I don't know that we have a timeline for that.
I can say that it's on our yearly goals. That being said, we don't always reach all our goals, but yeah, so it's on the
Okay.
yearly goals at least.
All right. And then beyond CBOR response, do you have a plan to support additional formats such as Arrow or even Flight SQL protocol?
No, there are not any plans that I'm aware of for that. What was the formats mentioned? Avro and
Arrow
Flight
and Flight.
SQL.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know Arrow was on the plate
Apache.
when we discussed which format to support that are more compact, and we went with CBOR.
Yeah.
So I don't know if we're going to support Arrow as well, at least not soon, unless there's a good reason for it. I mean, yeah, if there's a clear reason for it, I don't see why we wouldn't add it. But for now, it didn't seem to be.
Yeah.
Right. Looks like we have just a couple of more questions here. What's the advantage of having different linguistic processing for queries and documents?
I think we already had that with like synonyms being an example use case. Normally it's symmetric, but yeah, for some situations you want to have it different.
All right. And then there was a question here about a link to the blog post on embedding a performance. So actually, just to remind everyone, we do have a resources tab here. This one is actually titled Interactive Leaderboard blog, because as part of the embedding performance, included in that blog is that interactive leaderboard. So you'll find that link there in the resources tab. Okay, that is all of the questions that we have here. So thank you, Radu and Thomas, for joining me on this webinar. And thanks everyone who attended, who stayed, and who asked questions. Have a good rest of your day.